Hey, what's up YouTube, Scavenger here, and I'm back on what will be the last video in our Conflict of Nations series. Now, it's been a few days, well, more than a few days since I last recorded, and that's been because I've been building up and saving up for this last episode, which surprisingly, I'm still not prepared for. So, I've ticked over into a new day, day 55, we're 38 minutes in, and basically, if I was to do nothing due to population growth, when we took over to the next day, I will surpass the amount required for victory and the game will end. So what we're going to do is I've set myself a challenge to see how much of the world I can capture in this last day, excluding the remaining players. So human players are out of the questions. This is me versus the remaining AIs. So we have Turkey, Soviet Union, Ukraine, and Finland left. Oh, Sweden as well, but Sweden, yeah. Not sure about what we're going to do with him. It didn't really allow troops to that side of the world. So, also Denmark. So the goal is to capture as much as possible before the next day change. So I've built up my stockpile of conventional warheads, got a few nukes, and hopefully in the process of doing this, my country, the United States of America, does not get too unhappy. We've already got problems. They're not happy with the amount of people I'm killing. You know, it's not good. So anyway, without stalling this any further, it's probably time to get started. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to finally move down here and capture this one piece of little land. For this, I've allocated some mobile infantry, or air mobile infantry. That won't take too long to do that, and off it goes. Now, I'd be really surprised if I do capture that and it immediately ticks me over and the game ends. So I just hope that doesn't happen. Now, I'm going to devote a lot of my actual army to running missions down here. So I'd like to hopefully save some air mobile infantry for other theaters. So I'll get as much of this stuff moving as possible. But areas like this are good for air mobile infantry to just clear up. So we'll do what we can with our armies. What I'm also going to do as time goes on is I'm going to use these smaller divisions, these armored divisions, to hold cities. So I want to hold as many cities as possible when day change hits. Now, I'm not going to be able to hold on to everything, I know that, but we can try. Well, this is going to be an interesting division right here. Let's make a new one. So I've got 2, send in 4, and maybe 3 tanks, and maybe 1 more. 5, yeah, 5 of that, and we'll get that to move and start attacking up here. Take the USSR. Now, what's left in here? Okay, that's a okay division. We'll send that up anyway. It's got some good anti-air and missile defenses. So this is going to be the hard part, now rationing out our remaining forces. Just send that right up the middle of the USSR, or Soviet Union. Send that a similar course up to here to capture Leningrad. Then you can head up there. We'll leave Sweden for now, even though surprisingly Sweden's like the only person I'm actually already at war with. They're at war with Malta already as well. Oh, that's interesting. Unless like I literally just declared war on them then by... Okay, yeah. Well, they haven't technically crossed the border yet, so I don't know what's up with that. And we're going to need aircraft up in the air, and it looks like we're going to need some over here in what I believe is Ukraine. So we'll send all of those ones up to there. We'll send this division all the way over to here, and that can help in the Soviet Union. Now, I think I do still have a few aircraft left back over here that I should probably pull forwards. Actually get some use out of them while I still can. Same goes for troops like this. I may as well move them to the front. They might get there to help out a little bit tomorrow, although looks like these guys up here will be at a stretch to make it that far in time. So let's just briefly turn on the terrain types. Oh, paints a good picture. So here we can basically see what we're going into. So we don't have too many mountainous regions in the way, which is good. So our immobile infantry will be good for taking out these areas here, as it will be able to mow through them quickly. Armored divisions like this one here are going to be good in these plain and forest regions, so that works really well. Got a few mountainous regions down here, so I'm probably going to have to deploy my special forces and these units down here to capture those regions to speed things up. So the next part of the process is, if we have a look, okay, they haven't reported much intel. You can see that some of these regions are safe, but kind of want to know more information. So in the meantime, I'm just going to move these up to here before I send them out and actually attack anything. So we're just getting them moving forwards, and to make them move faster, I'll split them up. And yeah, they're pretty efficient like that. So we'll do it like that. Although I'm pretty sure once again the air they need to be stacked of 5. So we'll split them again. And split them again. So they're at the maximum efficiency. So I'll be back a little bit later on with a little bit of progress on how things are going. So yeah, I'll see you soon. So we're back a little bit further on in the day, and by further on I mean like maybe 20 minutes later since the last part of the video, and we can see that we're starting to advance on nearly all of our fronts. I've started to deploy air mobile infantry now that we're starting to scout out. Our radar's getting range and reporting that there's nothing to be worried about. So most of those units are starting to deploy. We've also got our Air Force working on Ukraine and slowly dwindling him down. We've got the stack here that I could hit with my Air Force, but to save time and to save health, because I'm not going to have time to heal units back up, I've gone for the extreme approach of launching an intercontinental ballistic missile. So that there should be enough to hopefully deal with the threat in there. So that's how we're going about that. Now our Air Force is finally starting to get into range down here, and when I say range I mean into position. So from here it can start scouting out, and I can hopefully start deploying some of this air mobile infantry as well. So the sooner that happens, the sooner we can get underway. I can already tell at this point I'm safe to deploy to here and here, as well as over to here. So straight away I can deploy some of that once it's available. So I'll be back later on with some more updates, and it'll probably be around, similar content, similar stuff. So the rest of the audio in this video is recorded in post, well after the fact. So the game finished about a month ago, so this is well after the game has ended. So if I don't really sound like I'm talking about, a little inconsistent, or some things just don't make sense, that's why I'm going to be narrating the rest of the video off the top of my memory. So to help get around that, I'm also going to throw in some topics just reflecting on the game as a whole, talking about how it went, and yeah, talking about where we're going from here. So at this point in the video, it's not too far into us starting this little bit of a challenge, and as you can see, we've captured a little bit of ground, but not much. Within the next couple of minutes of the video, we'll jump forwards in time quite a bit, and you'll see some massive gains. One of the problems I ran into while trying to do this is I wasn't actually prepared. I didn't expect our population to grow so fast and push us into nearly winning the game. I expected to have quite a bit more longer. As you can see, we had plenty of resources, but we just didn't have the arms industry to produce as many troops as we needed. And at the same time, as we were producing troops, we were wearing down our production due to upkeep, and we had to keep updating that. So that was a bit of an issue there. The next issue I had was our Air Force. I was constantly trying to produce more and more aircraft in the final few days to get it to this point, and I had to also produce cruiser missiles at the same time to make it worth anything, and while also trying to produce nukes. So I had my hands full, and I had a lot of different units and different projects I was working on and trying to keep up with all of them, and it made for a really hard time. So going forward into the future, I need to manage my economy a little bit better, and being more aware of the fact that as the game goes on, your population increases and that affects your victory points. So that's a bit of a learning curve there, to be honest. So as you can see, we're definitely quite a bit further into the game, and we've captured a lot of land in Romania. Our air mobile infantry is doing a very good job, but it is leaving a few gaps around the place. If we turn off kind of morale map, and we can see allies versus enemies, we can see that we actually control quite a bit of the territory. But there are quite a few pockets out in the distance that our air mobile infantry has to travel out and get. Now, in the next section of video, which will pop up soon, it's just after I've gone to bed and woken up, and basically the whole last day, or last 6 hours rather, isn't so much me trying to capture land, but save the troops I have. What happens is I go from micromanaging every fine point of this battle to 8 hours where my troops are just by themselves. And I do take a lot of casualties during that time. In fact, going into that, I'd taken very few casualties. So if I had to hang around and micromanaged it, we could have lowered the casualties a bit more, but due to the fact I was unable to do that, because I like my sleep, guys, sleep is important, 8 hours a day, I lost quite a bit of troops there. But in the end, our aircraft are able to come back in and clean that up, and we'll see that in just a second. So that's what I'm setting up for now. Nighttime, I'm setting my troops on long paths off into the distance, and that's the ultimate goal there, is just to keep everything moving while I'm asleep. We can see here what Norway's up to, not much. He's trying to recapture his land from, I believe it's Sweden. And we did offer some assistance with that earlier on in the lead up to this by nuking some cities and killing some troops. But even with our assistance, we killed about 30,000 of his troops. He still hasn't been able to really push him back, so that's a bit odd. As you can see here, ships moving in past Turkey. We're going to move them into the Black Sea before we put them to use, although I do remember putting some shots off as they passed by. So cruise missiles were a big part of this invasion and part of my overall strategy in this game. They're incredibly useful, and I do like how they're implementing this game. Unlike the rockets in Call of War, which are just fired stationary from an airbase, these you have to have craft that can actually carry them to their destination and then fire them. And that's one thing I like about strike planes in this is, you can fly in and then you can kind of branch off, you can scout out, see what targets are, and then you can launch cruise missiles and take out a few targets while you're there. And that is a really cool feature. They're not quite as effective in rockets in Call of War, but they get the job done. So what you're seeing now is the final day, the last 6 hours, and this is what I was talking about earlier. My troops have ran all over the place. There's a lot of fighting going on. The AI has had time to, well, not necessarily regroup, but actually send his troops into motion. So after waking up, I'm now left with cleaning up and trying to save as many of my troops as I possibly can. So as we can see here, there's actually only about 3 hours left of the game, 2 hours and 20 minutes left. So that isn't much time. So really, what I'm doing here is capturing the last 2 provinces I can, sending my immobile infantry off on what will be their last missions, and really trying to capitalize on the remaining time I have left while saving as many units as possible. Like I said, overnight I took a tremendous amount of damage. You can also see a few cities around the place that have these orange skulls. I nuked quite a few cities in this process to take out large stacks of enemy troops. The criteria for this was stacks 8 or higher, and basically what I did was I launched intercontinental ballistic missiles, that's a mouthful, and destroyed them that way. That way I was able to keep momentum up and keep moving without having to send artillery and aircraft in, as that would take longer, so just waste a nuke or two. One thing I like about this game is when you kill massive amounts of innocent people, your people protest against it and it damages your morale. I reckon that's a really cool feature because it really stops the overuse of nuclear weapons. Although from what I saw, it kind of caps out around 30 or 35 if I remember correctly. So I mean, I nuked a lot of people, but there's a point where your people start to become okay with it. So This game went pretty well, to be honest. I did face a lot of AI nations, and the only human players in the game I didn't even challenge. There was obviously Poland, which I never showed you guys, but I mean, he gave up relatively easy. So that wasn't even much of a challenge. There goes another nuke. So I think going forwards, I do have to be careful that I'm not overconfident or too reliant on this strategy, because it isn't tested and it isn't proven. Like, I mean, sure, it works well against the AI, but if we know anything from Call of War, the AI is nothing like a human player. So here we are, this is the last little bit of the day, and if we can see on the map off to the side, we can see the area that we controlled when we started this, and then when I switch it back over to the next day, we can see the area I finished with, and that's something really cool to see. So if we look at that, we gained quite a lot of territory going into yesterday, and if we push it just one day further forwards, we gain a little bit more. So while we didn't capture the entire world, we definitely have left our mark. You can also see down there that I'm showing off some of the casualties, and I'll be honest, it really went south for us on that last day. Although everyone I went up against, I either had 2-to-1 loss ratios against them, so they lost 2 to everyone I lost, or better. It was kind of sad to see it head that way. Like Turkey, for example, I only lost 3,000 troops, he lost about 20,000. So, you know, it wasn't all bad. So, thank you guys for watching, and I guess I'll see you guys on whatever comes after this. I'll probably put a video about that out another time. So, thanks for watching.